Hi everyone. So my name is Jules and I have wanted to start a YouTube channel for a long time, but I never really had the time or the energy to dedicate to filming and editing and all of that stuff. And then I started to realize that I spend a lot of time in the car every day, and sometimes I spend that time listening to music or podcasts, like everyone does. But I thought maybe I could put some more use into that time, because it is a solid chunk of my time on a day-to-day basis. So the combination of those two things has led me to try to film some YouTube videos here in my car. It also takes away that kind of camera shy thing that I think everyone has somewhere inside them, because if I'm driving, I don't have to really make eye contact with the camera, because that would be incredibly unsafe. So now that that's over with, onto the topic of what I've wanted to film about for a long time, which is something called transcranial magnetic stimulation, which is a really fancy big term that a lot of people might be immediately scared of. But to make it a little less complicated and scary, we're just going to call it TMS, because that's what most people do call it. And TMS is a fairly new treatment for clinical depression. It also can be used to treat generalized anxiety disorder and OCD, but the main FDA-approved use for TMS is for clinical depression, and so that's what I'm going to be focusing on in this video, and also because that's the only TMS I have any experience with. So TMS is typically used in treating something called treatment-resistant depression, which is just a classification for people who don't respond very well or at all to, the common medications prescribed for depression. So that would be, there's a few different classes: SSRIs, SNRIs, MAOIs. There's a lot of different kinds, mood stabilizers. And someone with treatment-resistant depression has tried a good number of these from a variety of different classes, and none of them have had much effect for them. And once you are considered treatment-resistant, you have a few different options. You could either try more medications from different classes until you hopefully find one that works, which can be really exhausting, really time-consuming, and frankly quite dangerous, because you don't really want to play around with psych meds like that. You could also do something called ECT, which has been around a long time, and you might have heard of it as something scary and barbaric and terrible, but it is a much safer procedure these days than it was back in I believe in the 50s, 60s, when it was widely used in psych wards. But it is still a riskier procedure. It's been associated with memory loss, with a slightly higher risk of seizures, and some other side effects, and it is a surgical procedure, so you are under general anesthetics. During the procedure, it does take place in a hospital, and it can be a bit pricey. Which is why it is pretty great that pretty recently TMS has kind of come to the forefront for people who are treatment resistant. And TMS, essentially what it is a treatment where a pretty large MRI magnet is placed in a specific spot on your head. For depression, it's the left. For anxiety, it's the right. And it's kind of tricky to find the exact position, but there is a procedure to find that. And you go in every day, and it pulses electricity into that part of your brain that affects depression. And anywhere from a couple weeks in to a couple weeks out, you should see results. And a lot of people, I think it's around 70% of people, either go into remission or have an improvement of their depressive symptoms. Typically, TMS goes over a 10-week period with 6 weeks of 5-day-a-week treatments, and then the last 4 weeks are spent tapering. And all that means is you go all week for the first 6 weeks, normal schedule, and then first week of tapering you do 3, then you do 2, then you do 1, and then you're done. And yeah, it can be very effective, and I think a lot of people are scared of it because of its comparisons to ECT, and because it is a big scary medical term, which is why I prefer to just say TMS. But I think it's really important that we start talking about TMS as a treatment option more, because medication, while great when it works, is really difficult to figure out how to get it to work for a lot of people. I personally tried, I believe it was 8 or 9 different medications before undergoing TMS, and none of them did anything for me. The only effects I ever had from the medications were negative. Loss of appetite, nausea, increased depression, all of the scary little things you hear at the end of an antidepressant commercial. Those were the kind of things I experienced. But when I had TMS, I had a slight headache sometimes. Sometimes I was a little tired, but I went into remission by week 5 of treatment. And I think that's pretty remarkable that after 2 years of medication trial and error and failure, all it took was those 5 weeks. A little inconvenience, a little tapping on my head every day, and I went into remission. And some of you might be wondering what exactly remission means in this circumstance, and that's pretty easy. So we use a scale called the PHQ-9 scale, stands for Patient Health Questionnaire Scale. And you take that little questionnaire once a week during your treatments, and basically it's a scale asking you questions about your depressive symptoms. So it asks questions about sleep, about appetite, about mood, suicidal ideation, all of that stuff, and it scores you from 1 to 26. 0 being no depression, and 26 being like the most extreme severe depression you can imagine. And in my case, on the first day of treatment, my PHQ-9 score was a 22, which put me in the severe depression category, which was accurate. And by the last day of treatment, my PHQ-9 score was a 2. And anything below a 4 is considered remission in terms of TMS. I think it was by the 5th week was when I hit that 4 mark. Before then, it was just gradually going down. So I just wanted to give like the very basic definition of what TMS is and what TMS does. In this video, I would love to make more videos going into more specifics about TMS, about mental health, about depression specifically, because it is something I have experienced and I have quite a bit of acquired knowledge about because of that. So please let me know your thoughts about this. If anyone in your life you feel would benefit from TMS, please show them this video. I will leave resources in the comments below and in the description. Please subscribe if you are interested in any of this, if you want more information, and please reach out if you need immediate help. It is available. I will link the National Suicide Hotline down below and some other resources you can use. And if it's a non-urgent matter, please feel free to reach out to me either in the comments or through my email. I would love to chat with you guys about mental health, and I look forward to making more videos for you. So thank you a lot.